Good afternoon. So, bear with me because I've never done one of these before in my life. You wouldn't believe, at 48 years old, this is the first time I've ever made a YouTube video. I saw a video today of a guy who did a repair job on a pair of these, which are the Sennheiser HD25 headphones. I've had these for probably about 12 years and they'd been playing up on me recently, so I did a little bit of a repair job on them myself. And I saw this video that this guy did, and I just think I've got a better technique, so I thought I'd do this. So sorry if that comes across wrong, but hopefully it might help you. So, Sennheiser HD25s, amazing headphones, absolute tanks. They will go on and on and on, but a well-known issue with these is that you get the connections cutting out on the ears. So for quite some time now I've been DJing with these, and you'd pop them on and you'd lose one or the other ear, so you'd fiddle with the connections. Sound familiar? Okay, so what is inside each of these drivers is a pair of little springs that these little forks, these little tines connect to, and they locate into the springs. And I think what happens over time is that, certainly on this model anyway, of this age, the springs lose their springiness and move apart slightly. So the coils are not uniform, and so these lose that. And also you get crap in them as well. So I thought I'd do a little video to show you what I did to sort it out, and it did work. So let's see if it helps you at all. Right, so first of all, what you're going to need to do, tools wise, I'm only using small Phillips, and I've got this like sort of scribe thing, which I have no idea where I got this from, but I've had it for years and it's just useful. Pointy, right angle pointy. And I've got this other thing here, which again, I couldn't tell you what it is, but it's got a hook on the end and a kind of a sort of screwdriver-y bit on that end. And so nothing too high tech, but let's crack on with this. So first thing I'm going to do is unplug the connections. You obviously got the cable on the HD25 comes up one side, plugs into the you've got the right hand, is it right? Yeah, it's right. So the red for right goes into the right hand driver, and the cable for the left hand side goes around the top of the headband and into there. On the left hand sides, it's once you've unplugged the cable, it's just dangling on the arm there, so we can just pull that off, and that's that. The right hand side, slightly more involved. You've got to take off the cable clamp, so we'll do that. Chop those out, oops, and then pull that off. If you're careful, you can just leave that in there. There's no need to separate the clamp from the cable itself. So we can just come over here and same thing again, take that off. I'm going to move the cable over there. So I've now just got two drivers, left and right. Now you've got the covers on there, so what I do with this is I put a screwdriver just inside there, and it's a bit like levering an inner tube or a tyre off of a bicycle wheel. So go kind of like that, and there you go. Once you've got that, you can just peel the rest of it away, And there you got your driver. So now turn it on its side like that. Put your thumb or finger on there. Grip the outside of the casing with the thumb and forefinger, and from behind with your thumb on this little sticky outy bit, just push it. Now I'm using my finger obviously, and just push the whole thing out. There you go. You got a bit of foam in there. Just leave it there, chuck it over to one side. Now I've forgotten something, so I'm gonna have to go upstairs and grab the bit that I forgot. How unprofessional of me. You can tell this is my first time, can't you? Bear with me a second, be right back. This is what I forgot. A pair of little needle nose pliers. So what we want to do here, we've got this little bit in the middle, which we need to pull away from the back of the driver. Now this is the bit where you really have to exercise caution, because just behind this part here are the, if I turn it around to the top, here's the connection port for the cables, okay? And what's behind this part here is so delicate, and I'll show you it once I pull this off. The connections to the actual driver coil are thinner than hair, and if you're not careful, you'll snap them. They are that delicate and that thin, and once you've done that, these are just fit for the bin. Okay, so I think a new one of these is about 50 quid, and if you're going to buy one, you might as well buy two. And when you get to that point, I think a brand new pair of HD25s is about 130 quid. You might as well buy a new set of cans. Okay, but if you can get away with repairing it, these will last you a bit longer. So I'm going to grab hold of this bit here, or any of them really, and I'm going to pull this central bit away from the back of the case. So let's see if I can do it and you actually see what I'm doing. So, oh, blimey, there we go. And I'll do it on the other side as well. Careful. I'm going to do it this way. Here we go. Right, so try it again. And there we go, we're off. So this comes away from here. And as you can see, maybe, on the inside you've got, if I turn around to the light, just here, here, and here, you've got some little locator notches, and you have on this cover corresponding tabs. Should have done this on a white background really, shouldn't I, so you could see what I was doing. But there you go, there's one at the bottom and they're on the sides as well. You're probably laughing at me, and to be honest with you, I don't really blame you, but you know, gotta give it a go, haven't you? Right, so I don't even know if you can see on here whether they're so fine, and you know, let's be honest, I'm recording this on an iPhone, so you may well not even be able to see, but there's a wire there and a wire there. They are so thin, like super, super, super thin. I'm gonna try and turn it around and see if I can catch the light. It's probably not even focusing on it. Let's see if I put my finger over it and see if it will focus. Not really, but we'll give it a go. So right in the center here, you've got a little rubber or plastic, sort of like translucent, it's like a spacer kind of thing, and it keeps the springs that are connected to the wiring posts, it keeps them in their place. We want to take the needle nose pliers and we want to pull that directly away from the case in that direction. And one thing to note is that these little hair thin wires, they sometimes go around the top of the connector. So what you want to do is make sure that you've got them out of the way. So just as carefully as you can, just like sort of push them away so they're not going over the top of the plastic block, because if they are and you pull this away, you'll just snap them. So this is the point at which I wish I had a pair of glasses. So I'm going to just pop this down and I'm going to stick a pair of glasses on. I am a man of a certain age. My short eyesight is failing. So let's give ourselves a hand. Bear with. Okay, these I think are my daughters. Well, they might be my wife's. I have no idea, but they're pink. Look at them, nice, aren't they? Right. Okay, that's better. That's better. I can see what I'm doing. Right, so I can see these tiny little wires, and they are hair thin. So I'm now going to take this plastic block out, and I'll try and do it so that you can see what I'm doing. And I'm literally, there's a little tab there, and I'm pulling this away. Okay, so as you can see, I've taken that out, and I'll pop that on the side there. Now let's see if you can see what I can see. You probably can't, because once again, Mr. Unprofessional here is only using a phone. So let me use my pointing stick here and see if you can see the light glinting off of these two things here. These are the tops of the springs which go inside, and they butt up against the connection posts that the wires for the driver are soldered onto. Let's see, can you actually, you're not going to see this, are you? But inside these holes, that one there and that one there, you've got a clear view of the springs in there. And if you look into it, you can see that they're curling in a barrel sort of direction that way. And you could see, if this was a proper camera, you'd be able to see that there's the space between the coils of the spring are uneven. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the tip of this scribey thing to put into the gaps that are smaller than the other two. So I can almost imagine a spring that you're looking at sideways, and it's stretched out a bit in one area. I'm going to push this into the area that's got the narrower of the gaps and kind of shove it around a little bit to try and stretch that bit so that I compress the area where that's been stretched out, if that makes sense. What I'm trying to shoot for here is a uniform distance between the coils of the spring, because this here, when it goes in, is locating between the coils of the spring. So those forks, those tines, sit in between the coils of the spring, and they should be making contact. But if the bits that they go into are stretched apart, then they're not making very good contact. Hence, you're having to wobble them about So, scribe, and I'm putting it in here. Once again, I'm being ultra careful so I don't disturb the ridiculously thin driver wires. So I'm just basically giving it a little bit of a shove from left to right and making it so that the gaps are uniform. Okay, and obviously you can't see that, but I'm fairly happy with how that looks. Now, if you've got any isopropyl alcohol and you can see down into there and you can see that it's gunky or messy, if there's any crap in there, you might feel inclined to give it a little bit of a clean out. Obviously, be really careful. I used a wooden toothpick or cocktail stick, and I just gently sort of swabbed around the springs and gave it a little bit of a clean up, and it seemed to work. So now I'm going to put this plastic thingy back, this little spacer. It's got a little bit of crap on it. And if you turn it round in your hand, you'll see that one side is flat on the bottom and the other side has some little grooves that run along it. And the purpose of those grooves is to keep these springs or these little rods that come off the springs in their positions. So the side with the grooves has to be oriented towards the top, this part here. So once again, I'm going to have a good look and make sure that the wires are well out of the way, because the last thing I want to do is to shove this down on top of those, because once again, I'll just bust it. I'm going to take my needle nose pliers and I'm going to pick it up by the tab, like so, and I'm very carefully, make sure that I've got it the right way, yes I have, I'm very carefully going to put it back, Mr. Shaky Hands, in there, and when I take away my needle nose pliers, I'm once again making sure that I don't snag the wires, and that's all in place. That's good. I'm not going to mess about with that anymore. I'm going to put the cover back in place. So it's quite easy. You can see there's a part that's blanked off, whereas everything else is open, so you know which bit goes towards the top. This bit goes there. I can see that I've got these little tabs on the side there, which will locate into these holes. So I'm going to make sure that I put this back in place with the tabs locating into the slots. And the bit at the bottom, yeah, so we're in, and then I'll very carefully, there you go, sorted. Okay, so job done on that. We just got to reassemble the cup. So we can see which way it goes. There's the little slot that the connector is going to go through. We're going to line that up with that. Make sure your foam pad is in there and slide it in so that the back of that comes out. And then you should have an earpiece where everything is in place. Give it a little press down, be nice and careful. Don't mess about with that, obviously. You can see how old it is, can't you? That's quite disgusting, really, when you look at it. So we're going to put the velour ear pad back in place. Now there's a bit of a technique for these. If you're replacing these, when you do, and I do intend to replace these because they're a bit old. I've bought some on Amazon. They're on their way. But for now, I'm just going to put the same ones back on. Now you can see that these are already fairly stretched because they're, you know, a few years old, good few years old. But if you're buying a new pair of pads, they've probably not got as much give in them. So if you're applying new pads, what I'd recommend you do is put a hairdryer on these and soften or heat the bit around the edge so that you've got a little bit of play on them. Because I watched a guy doing this and I was like, oh my God, I'm absolutely amazed that he didn't rip it to shreds. So what I do is I pop the top into, I mean, I made a little cut in here, just as you can see, so it doesn't foul the connector. And I get the top bit in, and as you can see, I've got to get this bit around the edge. Now this is like putting a bicycle tyre back onto the rim. So you've got to get something inside there to get this out. Now I watched a guy with something really sharp and he, mercifully for him, didn't tear the rubber edge. But I would recommend using something blunt and getting it under, and if you can see, I'm just kind of, it probably looks like I'm being really heavy-handed, but I'm not. And I'm giving it a little bit of a, pulling it over the edge. I mean, to be fair, it probably looks like I'm being as heavy-handed as the other guy was. So I feel a bit out of order really for dissing him. Sorry, mate, didn't mean it. Okay, so I'm putting these over. I know that I'm being careful anyway, and that's all that matters. So let's be honest, they're still intact, aren't they? And I'm just bringing it over and boom, there you go. Give it a little bit of a twiddle. Make sure it's all in place. Okay. Now what I'm also going to do is, obviously not in this video, but I have some headband pads as well that I'm going to replace, and I'm also going to replace the cable. Okay. So as you can see, these are a bit mashed up. If you're going to replace the headband pads, it might not be a bad idea prior to taking the old headband pads off to actually offer the new ones up to where they're going to go and make sure that they are exactly the same length, and maybe make a little pencil mark on the side there and there, so that when you put the new pads on and when you take these ones off, you're going to want to use something like isopropyl alcohol to clear off all the old crap away from there, because you know you want to put it onto a nice clean surface. So when you put the new ones on, so they're not out of position, so you know that you're putting them on and they're dead center. If you're anything like me and your OCD is through the roof, you want them to be in a good position and nice and neat and equidistant from each other's sides. So yeah, so there's that. Right, so let's get these back on. Move the cables around here. So let's pretend that I've already done the left-hand side. I haven't touched this one. Here's one I made earlier. And I'm going to go in there, and I'm going to pop my cable, my connector back in. Little hint, the L and the R for the left and right face the outside, so that's good. This one here, obviously a little bit more involved. So just like so, that's it. So these are going to be on the outside. You can see the recesses, they're going to be on the outside. So I'll pop my earpiece on that side, and I'm going to, I keep on moving this away, so and realizing that you probably can't see what I'm doing, so sorry about that. I will shut up about me being an unprofessional YouTuber. I won't be offended that you don't smash that like button or subscribe, because to be quite honest with you, there ain't anything to subscribe to. But who knows? Right, that goes in there, that goes in there. I can't believe this is a 20-minute video. God, I've really made a meal of this, haven't I? That can go in there. That one's going there. That one's going there. Do it up nice. Okay. Tight but not too tight. You don't want to strip the heads. Okay. So the cable should go on that side around into the headband and all the way around to the left-hand side. And you want your connection cable going around the other way. Are facing outwards. And pop that in there. And it should make a satisfying click. I am not going to... My wife's just walked in. Brilliant. Hello. Making a YouTube video. And that should be it. I'm going to spare myself the embarrassment of plugging these in and finding out that I've made a balls up of it and that they don't work anymore. But that should do the trick. Fun conversational fact. If you listen back a few seconds, you'll probably hear my wife go, because she walked in just as I was alluding to the possibility of busting them. And she thought I'd actually busted them. I haven't actually busted them. So, yeah. So I've just taken these upstairs, plugged them into the decks, went to the mixer, and they work. So all's good. So if I can do this, then you definitely can. So good luck, and hopefully you can put off having to shell out 130 quid on a new set of headphones for a few more years. They will eventually go, but and they're great value for money. And if you can hold on to them for as long as possible and get as much use out of them as possible, then all is good in the world. So see you later.